Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Robert Sultana and I'm representing VacancyCentre, which is a specialized recruitment firm servicing talent resource requirements within three particular verticals: finance, compliance, and technology. In collaboration with FinanceMalta organizers, we have prepared quite an engaging session for you, consisting of a number of pre-recorded Q&A sessions delivered by a number of FinanceMalta members. From my end, I will be contributing with my thoughts and considerations from the points arising from this video. I hope you will enjoy the session, and let's kick off with the session. Please run the first video.
So I believe you need both, but not necessarily in equal measure. The world of work has changed significantly post-pandemic, which will mitigate shortages to a certain extent, given recruitment can be extended geographically to larger pools of candidates. FS clusters such as the one in Malta will still need to attract expats so that the expertise can be developed onshore. However, from a scalability point of view, it is already impossible to fulfill even 50% of our requirements in some areas, such as accountancy, developers, and so on. So in order to scale, firms locally will need to partner and look beyond our shores in order to fulfill their requirements.
Global talent shortages are not limited to the financial services sector. Most sectors are experiencing talent shortages. Solutions to complex issues like talent shortages cannot be quick fixes. In my view, reforming education is one of the main solutions. Here we need to focus on improving our ability to increase the skill level. Malta's PISA scores are one of the lowest in the EU. Furthermore, our student exit rate from secondary education is one of the highest. We need to start reforms as early as primary school.
Okay, undoubtedly, I agree with Matthew's comments that there needs to be a hybrid of both approaches. We have to consider talent that needs to be available, readily available in Malta, but also to engage talent which will be working remotely from abroad. It was interesting recently to hear about the government announcement of the Digital Nomads Residency Program, which is a further attestation of where the market of talent is heading. Scalability is another headache that we hear very often from the clients that we deal with, that most often they have plans in the pipeline, and one of the limitations would be the availability of the pool of talent within our shores. Educational reforms, as Joseph will comment it, I'm aware there has been already a lot of developments in this area. I've been part of those developments even myself in the introduction of certain course programs as elective modules, the introduction of the insurance part in the degree program. But I think there needs to be more of a strategic planning on financial literacy happening in primary and secondary schools in preparation to have the right talent, not in 2 years' time, but in 10 to 20 years' time. Question 2. What are the key roles that you currently need to recruit for, and what skills would make the biggest difference to your business going forward? Video 2.
So over the last 5 years, CSB has invested strongly in strengthening its employer brand, basically making others out there know what we are doing internally in terms of our flexibility policies, our attention to work-life balance, our family feeling in terms of the values that we try to promote. So this has been a major factor also in attracting talent and retaining people on board. We have also, over the last 3 years, built a very strong performance culture whereby people know how they are performing, we support them to perform, but we are also very conscious about the fact that people who are strong performers want to work with others who are like them. So this has been a big attention for us to keep these people on board. In terms of recruitment practices, I would say it's 70-30, whereby 70% is based on people we recruit directly from our own employees and from people who apply directly with us. 30% is thanks to strong relationships with a select few recruiters, particularly for legals, compliance, and finance roles.
In the past 5 years, we've seen a fierce increase in competition for talented accountants and auditors. And as a firm, we try to think outside the box, be able to attract talented individuals by creating a pleasant atmosphere from where to work and to keep a healthy and balanced lifestyle between work and life balance.
Good. My contributions after this video, they're mainly twofold. One of them relates to the present situation, and the other one relates to the future. So I think being in the shoes of a recruiter, I think the pain points which keep on being recurring from year to year are the availability of accountants, auditors, tax professionals, but also lawyers. Not only just lawyers and accountants, but even to have a particular specialization in this area aligned to funds, tax, corporate, and many more. I think corporate services still remains one of the difficult areas to find qualified people as corporate administrators, corporate executives, and so on. Of course, with the increasing regulatory pressures and now with the grey listing even more, we're expecting that roles within compliance, MLRO, and risk will be very much on the increase, creating more of a mismatch between demand and supply. And it's interesting to note as well the increase of demand for students with a mathematical or statistical background. As it was commented, and very often it's cited by a number of stakeholders, soft skills remains to be one of the pain points as well. But I would add that over and above, I think there needs to be more critical thinking by the talent within Malta to challenge the status quo. There needs to be more improvement on the communication skills, interrelating with the team, presentations, conveying ideas and thoughts, and adaptability and flexibility. An awareness of regulations and the risks, which are of an implication to the business for the organization that the employee is working, is also very important. On the future, I think when you go through the number of articles and contributors from different authors, there's quite evidently that in the future, financial practitioners will require not only to have financial acumen, but that they need to combine this with a certain tech savviness. By this, I'm not implying that they have to become developers themselves, but they need to become more at ease with utilizing and leverage on the use of technologies in order to speed up their process. So, question 3, how have your hiring practices changed over the past 5 years, and what measures are you implementing to attract and retain top talent? Next video, please.
So over the last 5 years, CSB has invested strongly in strengthening its employer brand, basically making others out there know what we are doing internally in terms of our flexibility policies, our attention to work-life balance, our family feeling in terms of the values that we try to promote. So this has been a major factor also in attracting talent and retaining people on board. We have also, over the last 3 years, built a very strong performance culture whereby people know how they are performing, we support them to perform, but we are also very conscious about the fact that people who are strong performers want to work with others who are like them. So this has been a big attention for us to keep these people on board. In terms of recruitment practices, I would say it's 70-30, whereby 70% is based on people we recruit directly from our own employees and from people who apply directly with us. 30% is thanks to strong relationships with a select few recruiters, particularly for legals, compliance, and finance roles.
In the past 5 years, we've seen a fierce increase in competition for talented accountants and auditors. And as a firm, we try to think outside the box, be able to attract talented individuals by creating a pleasant atmosphere from where to work and to keep a healthy and balanced lifestyle between work and life balance.
Very good. Mela, to start off from my end, I think the employer value proposition is one of the most important factors. So basically what I'm trying to imply is how the financial institutions are portraying themselves out in the marketplace. The positioning they chose to adopt, the strategic decision, is it aligned to what the talent out there is looking at? The pandemic, of course, we're still living the effects of the pandemic. And I think, to a certain extent, if I can mention a bit of a positive side, which the pandemic brought over, is the normalization of the remote work mentality. I think deep inside a lot of employees, perhaps even including myself, we always thought that there could be more flexibility, something different than a Monday to Friday work arrangement. And perhaps the pandemic was the right trigger to consider other options. As Elaine well commented, there's the increased focus on culture fits. That's another important consideration. Another aspect which is worth mentioning is the employees' well-being, whereby whenever you have a company that shows and truly cares about the well-being of their employees through incentives, recognition, and praises, there is statistical evidence that proves the employees, they actually tend to be more productive. So employees' well-being has become quite a high priority on the agenda of a lot of organizations. Virtual hiring and onboarding, as recruiters, we're noticing that the initial first interview is normally still held online. And subsequently, the second or third interview, as the case may be, are normally held thereafter on a face-to-face basis. Social media, a couple of words on this in this regard. There has been a heightened increase of competition on social media, whereby a lot of organizations, they're trying to leverage more and more on the social media to reach out to talent. So, question 4, work patterns and expectations have changed drastically as a result of COVID. How has your company mitigated and reacted to the new employer-employee reality?
So our business was already, before COVID struck, was already very IT oriented, in the sense that we were able to work remotely if we wanted to, but because we never had experienced anything similar to COVID, we had never really put these to the test. However, with COVID, we have become completely able to work remotely as an organization, as has been the case with most similar organizations. And basically, with COVID, we've become more flexible than we already were, so that we can continue to service our clients' needs, even if we would have practically all our staff working remotely.
While we were shocked to face the new reality of working from home, we are proud to say that as a firm, we had quite significant measures to be able to work remotely. As in the past, we used to visit lots of clients' offices. However, now our biggest challenges were not just to work from home, but to get accustomed to stay in, day out, week in, week out, and eventually months to work from home. And as a firm, we work very hard to keep our staff motivated, to keep them healthy, and to keep them safe.
Good. I think the bottom line over here is the digital transformation which is necessary within the company. We have observed during the pandemic that the companies which were well prepared with their IT infrastructure and they had contingency plans in place, they were the ones mostly to succeed. I think as the MFSA has highlighted in one of its reports called Stakeholder Consultation on Corporate Governance, the authority is stressing the importance for financial institutions to have business continuity inbuilt into their sound corporate governance. I would like to share as well an interesting survey which VacancyCentre has carried out circa 5 months ago, whereby we have put the question forward to our audience, which work approach would you be willing to consider? Not surprisingly, overwhelmingly, I would say 92% of the audience have favored the approach of a hybrid arrangement, either 2 days at work, 3 days at home, or a combination of the two. So, question 5, what can financial services companies improve to be more attractive to top talent? Next video, please.
So financial services companies today can and need to invest more in their employer branding. This is a trend we're seeing across the world, and it's obviously very important. The generations of workers we are targeting today as employers put a huge amount of emphasis on research and meaningful work and being able to relate to the employer brands with whom they apply. So companies also need to support their people and be seen to be supporting their people on upskilling programs, which need to be continuous. And after the pandemic, given the world of work has changed so much and that the average worker does expect a lot more flexibility than they did pre-pandemic, it's important for companies to have proper work programs, which obviously accommodate their business requirements, but also provide people with the flexibility they have come to expect.
Most financial services companies are well geared to attract top talent. What I would add is that they need to be more flexible and less rigid in their approach towards work. Some will also benefit by truly caring about their team's work-life balance.
I think the key point in this part of the question is creating a 21st century employee experience. What do I mean by that? Nowadays, employees have become more than just interested to have a good salary. But I think there's more and more feedback gathered by the candidates we speak to that there's a preference for work environments which offer work flexibility for a work-life balance. They're still favoring companies which are more technology-oriented than financial companies. That's a bit of a problem that financial institutions are facing. And the talent also is looking forward to have opportunities of upskilling, reskilling, and continuous learning within the organization. So if you ask me, I think the most successful financial institutions of the future will be the ones that embrace upskilling and reskilling for their internal human resource talent, and of course the companies who will champion flexibility. As we know, the marketplace is composed of different generations, and with different generations, of course, everybody values different things. As you can see from the slide and the statistics, let's, for example, speak about the millennials. On this particular chart, you will notice that the top 5 factors attracting millennial employees on the first point is career development and learning opportunities. I think there's another important aspect for millennials is the factor of being challenged and finding the purpose in what they're doing and contributing within the organization. Last but not least, there's a problem, or rather, let's call it a challenge, of the image that the financial institutions are depicting. I think the key word in this consideration is credibility. I think you've been well aware, as I've done, seeing the media reports locally and abroad. We have been aware of the number of scandals and cases arising. So I think now more than ever, there is more an effort effort that financial institutions, they need to put forward to inbuilt, again, instill that effect of credibility, which is done through ethics, compliance, good corporate governance, and putting these really into practice. I have to say that Hollywood movies like The Wolf of Wall Street or The Big Short, they haven't made life easy, or they have eased these challenges. And the last point, I fully concur with Joseph. I think rigidity. There are still some financial institutions that within their structures, their processes, they're portraying out there in the marketplace, perhaps they're still appearing a bit rigid to attract the necessary audience they're aiming to pitch. So, question 6, the last one. According to the World Economic Forum Future of Work 2020 report, 1 in 5 of all jobs in financial services are at risk of disappearing, and half of all employees in the sector can expect to see their jobs change by 2025. So the question is, how do you believe the talent landscape will eventually change in the coming years?
My assumption is that jobs will disappear and change because of automation and AI. Assuming that the core industries within the financial services survive, automation will only improve the quality of jobs and the earnings of those working within the industry. The proportion of highly skilled individuals in the financial services is high when compared to other industries. This means that automation and AI will eat into the routine jobs, and people will reskill into more value-adding jobs.
So clearly, there's a significant amount of positions and skills becoming redundant. This will accelerate for the foreseeable future, I believe, and it's obviously mainly driven by AI and automation. But with the ones becoming redundant, we will also see new jobs and skills requirements being created. Individuals and companies will need to commit and invest in ongoing upskilling programs, mainly because a lot of jobs, a lot of skills will start to fuse, and there'll be many career paths. Shortages will increase, as other than the structural demographics, it will now be far more difficult for the traditional education sector to meet industry demands. And what I would expect to see is that the war on specialist talent will become more global and a lot more intense.
Good. So every other industry and profession is changing. So it comes to no surprise that even the financial services is changing, and it will need to change even more. If I had to refer to the age of disruption, I think the financial services, they have been through 3 main tumultuous periods, starting off with the global financial crisis, 2008, 2009. Thereafter, the regulatory responses which arised thereto. And the third aspect is the rise of the financial technology, aka, as we know it, FinTech. If we had to nail down the key drivers of change, as some of the contributors have mentioned, and even other contributors in the conference, automation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, I would add as well digital mobility, virtual collaborations, and even the cloud. I collected a number of statistics to convey further the point I want to address. And for example, on the left-hand side, we can see the chart of the digitization effect on US banks, whereby from 2005 up to 2017, there has been a drastic reduction, a drastic closure of the bank branches across the US territory. On the right-hand side, there's research about the question about where AI is being implemented in the financial industry. And areas like research, customer support, trading, sales, compliance are really the areas which are being considered to be mostly affected. I recently, during the research I was doing for this presentation, I came across a Bloomberg article, and in this article they carried out a survey amongst the CFA members and candidates. They reached out to almost 4,000 respondents, and 43% of them, they have cited that they are seeing that their roles, their function, their careers will significantly change in the next 5 to 10 years. My last slide for you. I would like to leave you with these two thoughts particularly. First and foremost, what's happening with the FinTech movement? I think if we take example of the big brands like Amazon, Airbnb, Uber, the brands that a lot of people are familiar with. I think Amazon has transformed the way we shop. Airbnb has completely remodeled the holiday aspirations. Uber, they have changed the face of public transport. So I think it was only a matter of time until the consumer attention and expectations would in turn turn on financial services companies. We can see the deployment of new tech coming more and more mainstream as we speak, and more in the next few years. If we see, for example, within trading, there is more and more utilization of AI to expedite the entire process, thus reducing the risks and maximizing the returns. Robo-advisors having artificial intelligence for financial advice and investment management, 24/7 chatbots, fraud detection, whereby AI analysis looks into the buying behavior and triggers alerts if something is out of the ordinary. And as it was mentioned as well, automation. It reduces repetitive tasks and processes. One last point I would like to leave you with to ponder and think about is blockchain. I think, to be honest, there has been a lot of talking about blockchain, and perhaps at one point in time, there was too much focus and attention on the cryptocurrency rather than the technology itself. But I think the question to put forward is how us, or the financial institution altogether, we're going to manage to leverage on this new technology to make it work for the financial services. Those are my contributions. I hope you found this session to be thought-provoking and highly interesting. I thank you for listening, and I encourage you to stay tuned for the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.